Hi, I'm the Nature Kid, and in this video I'm going to tell you about moss, lichen, and fungus. Moss, lichen, and fungus are three things that you can find in wet spots on wood and rocks, and in the soil. And although moss, lichen, and fungus are found in similar environments and look similar, they are completely different living organisms. Let's start with moss. Moss is part of a group of spore-producing plants called bryophytes. Bryophytes also include liverworts. On this rock, the moss is reproducing. Do you see all of these stalks growing from the moss? I used to think that they were little plants that were different from the moss, but it turns out they are the spore-producing structures of the moss. These tall things are like the fruit of moss. And when the little things on the top open, the spores come out and they travel in the wind, and when they land somewhere, they will grow into more moss. And even though we associate moss with dark, damp places, because it's a plant, moss needs sunlight. So although it is found in darker places than other plants, moss does need sunlight, and it's green because of chloroplasts in its cells, which shows that it needs to photosynthesize to survive. And moss is often confused with other things because there are other things that are called moss that aren't moss, such as reindeer moss and Spanish moss. Reindeer moss is a lichen that grows in the Arctic, while Spanish moss is actually an air plant. In Oregon, it is very wet and damp during the winter, and this is perfect conditions for moss to thrive. But what does moss do when it gets hot and dry? How does it survive? When moss is dry, its little tiny leaves close. This is why dry moss looks shriveled up. And when it's wet, it opens. That's why wet moss appears to expand. This is lichen, a common moss look-alike. Unlike moss, lichen isn't a single organism. It is a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and an algae. A symbiotic relationship is a relationship when one creature or plant benefits another, and vice versa. In this case, the algae photosynthesizes and provides the fungus with food, and in return, the fungus provides shade and protection for the algae. Some lichens have medicinal properties, such as usnea, which looks like a beard. I don't know what kind of lichen this is growing on an apple tree. But I do know that it is all over this tree and is thriving. Some lichen can live for hundreds of years. The lichen that grows in a circle pattern on rocks grows 1 millimeter each year, so it can often be hundreds of years old. And last but not least, we have fungus. Many types of fungus are decomposers. They break down decaying leaves and wood. Fungi include yeast, mold, and mushrooms. They have a network underground called mycelium. Others are parasites, and others have symbiotic relationships with plants. This is called mycorrhizal. A mushroom is basically just the fruit of a fungus. Its sole purpose is to spread spores. After what is usually a pretty short amount of time, like a week or sometimes even a few days, the mushroom dies and decomposes. But the mycelium survives and will produce mushrooms again sometime in the future. I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe for more Nature Kid videos. Bye!